All right, back again with another movies I've watched recently. 20 movies again here. 17 I have a physical copy of. 3 that I watched by other means, meaning at a friend's place. And yeah, I'll get straight into it. I'll try to make this a bit faster than the other ones because I don't have much time at the moment, but we'll see. It's probably going to be an hour again. Hopefully not. Starting off strong with a Teruo Ishii torture porn film. I watched the Love and Crime release from 88 Films. So this is part of the Japan Anarchy line. It's a film by Teruo Ishii. It's a bit disjointed, unfortunately. I have a... How many is that? 4,000, like 20 out of 4,000. That's a nice low number. Love and Crime. Yeah, it's a bit of a disjointed movie. It's again an anthology film, like many films by Teruo Ishii. It is supposedly dealing with female killers. However, there is one portion, like one part of the anthology story. I think there's 4 stories here. The third one is just a guy who kills women. So I don't really see what the point of including that is, but the other parts are actually pretty damn interesting. I guess the main attraction of this is that there is a actual interview, like multiple interview clips of Sada. What is it? What is she called? Sada Abe. I was about to say Sadao Abe. No, Sada Abe, the woman who cut off the penis of his of her lover. That woman, very famous Japanese killer, female killer. There are real interview clips of her, like newly filmed for this film, clips of her, that gives this movie kind of a harrowing realism to it. All of the other clips are just, are just 60s Japanese studio film stuff. Like they look exactly like you would expect them to look. There's the first one. The first clip is it involves this sort of a woman and a man who kill people, like the hotel killer. Takes place in this sort of a hotel, like the people who own the hotel kill people. And then you have the Sada Abe story of her and her lover, and what happened between them. And then you have the male serial killer for some reason. And then it ends with what is the last one? Oh, is Sada Abe the last one? It could be the last one. Yeah. Then there's also the woman who poisoned people. Oden Takahashi. Yeah. She's also one of them. So there's these other real life serial killers or killers, and put into this kind of a anthology movie. The frame story is about this guy. I guess. Do I remember correctly? It's such a long time since I watched this movie, man. There's this guy whose wife commits suicide, I guess, and he starts researching like women, like behavior of women through ages, and then he runs into these stories of these killer women and kind of gets interested in it and starts pondering like what makes people do the things that they do and this sort of thing. The frame story is pretty throwaway, like not that interesting, but yeah. In terms of Teruo Ishii, I think this is pretty good. Like a basic 7 out of 10. Like I said, some of the parts don't necessarily fit together, and the longest part of the movie is that just that male serial killer who's just kind of out of place in this movie. Right, moving on. I watched the entirety of the Iron Angels set from Vinegar Syndrome. Oh yeah, I showed the back cover first. This is the front cover. Iron Angels 1, 2, and 3. So these are Hong Kong action movies, and I have to say, I did enjoy them quite a bit. Maybe a bit too much for what they are. These are not A-tier action movies by no means. Like the actors, I don't think I've ever seen any of them in anything, or if I have, I wouldn't remember who they are. Their names aren't even mentioned in the back cover, like the blurbs of these. So what these movies are, these are 80s Hong Kong action movies. You have these, like late 80s, right? Yeah, 87, 88, 89. You have these kind of mercenary people, angels, who are brought in to fight against different kind of like crime syndicates. In the first movie, it's about the drug business. So there's a drug war going on in Thailand, and these angels are brought in to help break up like the cartel violence and stuff like that. And it's pretty damn ridiculous. I think the first movie is by far the most entertaining of these three. Well, the second one is probably even more entertaining, but it's just as a movie not as engaging as the first one. It's like a solid action movie. It feels exactly like you would want an 80s Hong Kong action movie to feel. There's lots of explosions, lots of gunfights, very violent stuff, like stunt work, people flying all over the place, and just these high-speed fist fights that look like the people are actually like hitting each other with full force, and it's very fun. And many of the characters from the first movie are brought back to for the second one. I would give the first movie like a solid 8 out of 10. It was really fun. I liked it. And for the second movie, they didn't bring back the main guy. Is the name of the actor here mentioned? No, it's Saijo, the legendary angel number 1. He's not in the second movie, but Alex, the sidekick from the first movie, the American DEA operative, he is the main guy in the second one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, yes. And he goes to Malaysia with his best buddy Marco and Peter. Like they go on a vacation, and then they get pulled into this. They're like on vacation from agent work, and then they are pulled into this crazy storyline with this kind of an underground military terrorist group who is planning to like overthrow the Malaysian government. It is absolutely ridiculous, and it is so much fun. It is so much fun. Also, for some reason, there's like Malaysian she-males who are also agents for some reason, and there's this whole thing in a bar where like these attractive women turn out to be men and whatever, like this. Not necessarily the most politically correct humor for 2025 or 2026, but whatever. It was pretty funny. And yeah, it's like a jungle action movie in Malaysia, and it's pretty fun. Lots of explosions again. I would only give it a 7 out of 10 just because it leans maybe a bit too heavily on the awful kind of cringy comedy bits. There are maybe a bit too many of those, but yeah, it's still worth checking out. These are also, I forgot to mention, these are directed by a woman, Teresa Wu. I don't know anything about the director, but it's pretty interesting. Never heard of her name before. And these are well-made action movies, like really, really hard-hitting stuff. Now the third one, as usual, when you have a series of movies, usually by the third one you're starting to go downhill. And I have to say, the third movie here, that's one of the she-male action fighters. The third movie is not as engaging as the first two. What is even going on in the third movie? Do I even remember what the third movie is? The Iron Rangers are back once again, this time to stop an international terrorist organization hell-bent on starting a war between Thailand and Vietnam. Alright. Yeah, there's also again a bunch of the same characters from the original movies come back. Yeah, I don't even remember what the third movie really is. So there you go. I think I gave it a 6 out of 10 in Letterboxd, so there you go. Wouldn't recommend the third one because I don't even remember what it is. It's less than a month since I watched it, and I've already forgot about it. The second movie is unforgettable. I have to say that. I remember that very vividly. And the first one is really fun as well, so there you go. Moving on. I watched the entirety of the Radiance Films World Noir Volume 3 box set. Very nice set. As usual, there's one movie here that I think was pretty bad, and the other ones were pretty damn good, like usually in these World Noir sets. There's always one movie that I don't like at all. Let's go through these in order. Not Guilty. Oh yeah, I also have the Obi strip is in here. I guess I'll show that for those who are interested in the texts. So yeah, Not Guilty. It's from the late 1970s. It has Michel Simon in it, in the main role. Plays this sort of a doctor who just kind of goes crazy with power and starts, he kills someone and gets away with it. And then he feels like he can do whatever he wants and starts killing more people. Because why not? And yeah, he's an alcoholic rager who just, does bad stuff. Like the movie starts with him driving home from the bar, just drunk out of his mind, and he hits a motorcyclist and kills them in this car crash. But he gets away with it. Like people don't connect him with the murder at all. And yeah, it's a good one. I think this is the best movie in this particular set. She deceived one man, 4 others met violent death. Yeah. I was hoping throughout the movie that it would stick the landing, and it did. It didn't go for the cheesy route. It went for exactly what I was hoping for. It's really dark. It's so dark that it's also kind of comedic at the end. Has a really, really dark sense of humor to it at the end. But yeah, Michel Simon, he doesn't get away, spoiler, he doesn't get away with it, really. And his mind starts to erode the more he does bad stuff. Very nice stuff. From 1947. Then the bad movie from the set. I think The Lost One is probably the worst. No, it's not the worst out of all the World Noir movies. I think I Am Waiting by the Japanese director from the first set. I think that one is worse than this. So this is probably the second worst World Noir set film that I watched. It's directed by Peter Lorre, the legendary actor who's here also on the cover sniffing his fingers. And yeah, it's a post-World War II movie. It deals with World War II subject matter. So I have Peter Lorre here. He is a doctor doing research for the government Who would those people be? I wonder. Starts with an A and has a Z in it. And his girlfriend ends up selling like research data to the Allied forces, and Peter Lorre is trying to figure out what to do with this information. Because when you're working for the government, it's not necessarily the best idea to be associated with people who sell off government secrets and so on. But yeah, it's historically an important movie. It's a post-World War II movie dealing with very heavy World War II subject matter, which is a bit of a taboo, especially around that time. And this is a German movie, directed by Peter Lorre, basically. So it is a bit of a taboo film. So that's interesting. But unfortunately, I was bored out of my fucking mind watching that movie. It is incredibly slow. It's the longest an hour and 40 minutes I've endured in a long time. And it just doesn't really, like, it's supposed to be kind of like a spy thriller. But it's not really thrilling at all. It is incredible how you can make a spy thriller not thrilling at all. So I guess that's a bit of a failure from Peter Lorre as the director. Peter Lorre is not amused by my comments also. And then for what would I give it? Oh yeah, I forgot to say, for Not Guilty, like that's like an easy 8.5. I could see myself giving it a higher score if I rewatch it at a later point, but it's really good. And then for The Lost One, I would give it maybe a low 6. It's one of the weakest movies, I think, in the Radiance collection overall. I've watched over 100 of them by now, and it's probably around 90 at best, if I had to rank them. And then for the third movie in the set, we have a Swedish noir directed by Hasse Ekman. And the movie is Girl with Hyacinths, or Hyacinths, however you want to pronounce it. An interesting one. Again, another slow burner. But yeah, it's not noir in the American sense. It's more of a psychological drama that kind of has this mystery around it that is being solved. So there's a girl who commits suicide, and there's a character who is trying to figure out the details. He goes around interviewing people who knew her, and he finds out some new information, and then goes on to meet another person. It is again very slow moving, especially the opening portions of it, where it's just this guy interviewing people and talking to people. So not necessarily the most engaging film for the average viewer, but there is more to the story, and the mystery is pretty interesting, and it starts to unravel, and you find out more about the girl who committed suicide and so on. And yeah, there is an ending twist, I guess, here that I don't want to spoil, but yeah, it wasn't as impactful as I was kind of hoping for, because the entirety of the mystery and the build-up of tension is built around this reveal that is made in basically the final shot of the movie. And yeah, I guess like some people find it profound. I think it's just, whatever. But the movie itself is well made and kind of interesting. It's also has to be said, like Ingmar Bergman thought that this movie Girl with Hyacinths is a phenomenal film. So there's something there, definitely. I can't deny it being interesting. But yeah, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10 as well. So a pretty good box set overall. Not Guilty is definitely the one that I would suggest or recommend from that set. Moving on. Next up, I watched the 1990s John Waters movie Serial Mom with Kathleen Turner in it. It's a dark comedy film with Kathleen Turner becoming a serial killer. There's a bunch of people in the movie who are behaving badly, and Kathleen Turner just loses her mind and starts killing them off one by one. It's a complete farce. It is by John Waters. If you know what that means, you know exactly what you're getting into. For some reason, Herschel Gordon Lewis's blood feast is heavily used in this movie as like an intertextual reference, like the 1960s gore movie by Herschel Gordon Lewis. It's kind of hilarious. All the teenage kids are obsessed with horror movies in this world of Serial Mom, and they love Blood Feast for some reason. And it's a ridiculous movie. I'd give it like a solid 7 out of 10. Very entertaining. Maybe a bit too long, because like the joke at the end where Kathleen Turner is she's in court defending herself and trying to argue her way out of a sentence. It just goes on forever, and the joke kind of gets old. But yeah, it's a fun one. Next up, one of the best movies I watched in a long time. The first 10 out of 10 for me for 2026. I watched The Breaking Point by Michael Curtiz. My copy of it is still sealed because I watched this at a friend's place who also had a copy of this, and they opened theirs, so mine is still sealed. I've now seen 3 movies by Michael Curtiz, and I've given all 3 of them 10 out of 10s. So that's a pretty good average. Now, he directed a ton of movies. Like the other movies besides this that I've given a 10 out of 10 for are Mildred Pierce, which is a great noir, and then Casablanca, obviously, the classic Humphrey Bogart movie. And The Breaking Point is just fantastic. Great noir, like naval noir. The main guy is a boat captain who has some problem with money and payments, and he starts renting his boat out to criminals and goes on these different missions for these criminals, and gets more and more involved in that criminal underworld, and of course it ends up going bad. And yeah, the main actor is incredible. John Garfield. I don't think I've seen him in many movies, but he is just incredible in this one. And overall, just what a movie. The nighttime black and white seas, the ocean, and the ocean waves and everything. Like there's this scene where he is delivering illegal Chinese immigrants. It's shot during the night, and it's incredible what people were able to do with limited technology. And like this is from 1950. It's just absolutely incredible what they were able to do here. And then you have this shootout, because of course it's a noir movie. Of course there ends up being like a shootout between the main guy and the criminals, and that is so tense, so brilliantly constructed in this tiny boat. Also has a great side performance by the black actor whose name I don't remember. It's probably not listed here on the back cover. Probably not. No. But the black actor who plays the side role, he's fantastic. And I wanted to mention that in particular because the ending of this movie is one of the saddest, like the most ridiculously sad endings I've ever seen. It was borderline, like I almost bursted out laughing thinking about how fucking sad this ending is, because it ends with like a little kid alone on the pier and whatever. I don't want to spoil it, but it's just, yeah, I don't know, Breaking Point, another entry into the Criterion collection that is just incredible. Right, moving on to my second stack. I watched from Arrow Video The Ghoul, which is produced by Ben Wheatley, who's a great director. He directed Kill List, for example, like a UK horror director. And this is not really a horror movie. Well, it is kind of, but it's more of a psychological thriller. It deals with this guy who is maybe a detective. It says so on the back cover that Chris is a homicide detective. Maybe. Maybe not. Watch the movie and you'll find out. But it starts off as this sort of you think that it's going to be a murder detective film, but it's not. Because this guy, Chris, is just out of his fucking mind. And it's more about his descent into like loneliness and depression and just delusions. It's never really made clear in the movie if he actually is a homicide detective or not. If it could just be in his mind. There are other characters in the movie also who we don't really know who they actually are. Whether they are actually the people who the main guy thinks they are, or if they are just people he wants them to be. It's a mind bender. And out of these more modern films that Arrow has released, so this is from 2016, Arrow has released a bunch of these 2010s, like British and American, small budget, kind of almost like indie psychological thrillers and horror movies. I think this is one of the better ones. Many of the ones that I watched before, like Threshold and what else is there? The Sacred Spirit, movies like this, I thought were pretty disappointing, but I think The Ghoul is pretty good. I'd give it like a high 6, maybe a low 7. It was a good watch for what it is. And there's also a ton of special features because it's a modern movie. Like they had access to the director and all the people. So there's interviews with the main actors and the director and everything, and some good stuff. Next up, easily the worst movie of these movies I've watched. I went through the rest of the Samuel Fuller box set, the Eureka one, and I had 2 movies in that set that I hadn't watched before. So I started with Hell and High Water, which is probably the worst Samuel Fuller movie I've seen. Maybe Shark is worse. I can't really decide which one. Well, Shark has those nice underwater scenes with the divers and stuff, so that's pretty cool. This one doesn't have that. So this is a submarine movie, and a really dull one at that. There's a woman and like a some sort of there's research people. They are in a submarine for whatever reasons, no spoilers, and most of the movie is just, the rest of the crew eyeing the only woman in the submarine, and there's this really generic kind of storyline about them accepting the woman as one of them and whatever. It's not interesting at all. And then the movie ends with the people just firing rifles at an aeroplane, and the aeroplane explodes. Like whatever. It's just a waste of time. Hell and High Water. It's generally thought of as one of the worst Samuel Fuller movies, and I can see why. It just doesn't really have anything of interest going for it, which is strange for a Samuel Fuller movie. It starts off with a nuclear explosion, and that's the high point of the movie. Like the first 10 seconds of the film. That's the high point of the movie. Just watch the opening shot of the explosion and then turn it off. And that's that. I'd give Hell and High Water like a low 5. It doesn't deserve a high 5 from me. It's a low 5. And then the other movie from the set that I hadn't seen before is House of Bamboo, which is a noir, kind of a noir movie set in Japan. So it has these American Western criminals working in Japan, and it's interesting. It's really, really fun, and it has a lot of this sort of, as you would expect, like Westerners go into East Asia to film a movie, and some of the actors are Japanese, some of the actors are American, and there's this sort of a racial tension there at times, and kind of a romance between an American man and a Japanese woman, and this sort of thing. The Japanese woman, the actress, is fantastic. What is her name? Does it say it here? It should be here. Shirley Yamaguchi. She is incredible. I can't remember seeing her before in any movie, but I'm probably mistaken. I probably have seen her in something, but she was really, really good here. And the storyline is engaging from start to finish. It deals with this guy who is in Japan, and kind of he infiltrates this criminal enterprise to try and like destroy it from within. And it's really cool. And it has these sort of heists in it that are very, very engaging to watch and very interesting. So yeah, House of Bamboo, definitely one of the better ones from that box set. I'd give it like a solid 8 out of 10. So from the box set, like this one is really good. And then you also have Pick Up on South Street and 40 Guns. 40 Guns is probably my favorite from that box set. And then you also have Fixed Bayonets, which is pretty good. So that's like a solid box set overall. Moving on to The Others. Now, while I was watching this, it's a horror film directed by Alejandro Amenabar. So that's Spanish, I guess. Spanish guy. Yeah, has Nicole Kidman in it in the main role. I got a deja vu while I was watching this, that I've seen this before, but I wasn't sure. And lo and behold, in IMDb, I did have a score for this. I had given this a 6 out of 10, like 10 years ago. I bumped it up to an 8 out of 10. I think The Others is, for a 2000s horror movie, I think it's very, very well made. It's a ghost story. It's kind of obvious what is going on in the movie if you pay any attention, but it's still really engaging and really fun, and has this sense of mystery to it from start to finish that is very engaging. Nicole Kidman is fantastic. She lives in this old Gothic manor with her children. The husband has gone off to war. We are now talking about the Second World War, right? Yeah, it's 1945. Second World War, and he has died in the war. At least that's what has been reported, and so on. It takes place on the Channel Islands, which is an interesting setting. I don't think I've ever seen a movie set in the Channel Islands. So that's this is the Isle of Jersey, this one in particular. So these islands in between, I guess, France and Britain, Great Britain. And yeah, the islands were during the Second World War, they were occupied by the Germans. So there's this sort of a backdrop for this movie, has this historical context to it that also lends itself to some speculation on what is actually going on in the movie, because it's not really explained very thoroughly what has happened in the movie, like before the events of this movie. I don't want to spoil anything because this is very much a mystery movie and you have to kind of figure it out for yourself, and it's an interesting one as well. So very well made. There aren't many 2000s horror movies that I would rank higher than this, really. It's one of the better ones. And it was produced by Tom Cruise, right? It doesn't say it here on the back cover, but I remember that from the opening credits. Like Tom Cruise is one of the producers here, which is kind of funny. So yeah, this is a old Finnish Blu-ray. The case is broken. There's a crack. Yeah, there's a piece missing here. I wish there was a better release of this that I could get, but it is what it is. It's a good movie. 8 out of 10. I also rewatched, for the first time since I was a kid, Gremlins 2, The New Batch. I rewatched the first Gremlins movie a while ago, probably over a year ago at this point, but never got around to watching the second one. So here we go. I watched the second Gremlins movie. I don't think it's nearly as bad as some people say. It's really fun. It's really over the top and heavy on the comedic side, this one, more so than the first one. The first one was kind of like a funny little monster movie. Had some dark moments and some light moments, and it was a good time. The second one is just all over the place. The Gremlins basically, like they take over this sort of a office building, this high-rise office building, like the entirety of the building, and it just goes off the rails. It's so ridiculous. It's really funny. I guess the one of the main problems I have with this movie is that it has a bunch of really poorly aged comedy bits in it. Like they have these Looney Tunes animation bits in the movie. It doesn't really make sense why those are there, with like Bugs Bunny and whatever, Daffy Duck in there. It doesn't make any sense. There's also a strange like fourth wall breaking meta thing with Hulk Hogan watching this movie in the theater, and then the Gremlins like kind of mess with the theater experience and stuff like that. I don't think that really brings anything to the table that's interesting. It just takes away from the movie, this fourth wall breaking nonsense and these stupid references to culture, these cultural references, just dumb stuff. But as a monster movie, really fun. They have so many of these different Gremlin monsters here. One of them, yeah, there's also Christopher Lee in here. Christopher Lee is he plays a crazy, like, mad doctor, mad scientist, who does, like, experiments and stuff. Like, for some reason, their laboratory is on the same office building. It was rented to these people because they offered a lot of money or whatever. There's an in-universe explanation for it. So Christopher Lee is there doing his mad scientist stuff, and one of the Gremlins ends up getting this sort of intelligence potion or whatever that he drinks or injects, and becomes this highly intelligent, articular gremlin, and articulate gremlin. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. And the special effects are phenomenal. The puppet work, all the stuff, it's so good. Directed by Joe Dante, the legend. He also directed the original movie, so glad to see him back here for the second one. And yeah, I remember liking this as a kid, and then when I got older, I heard a bunch of people thrashing this movie, and I was kind of confused, like, was it really that bad? I thought it was pretty good. Now that I rewatch it, I think it's pretty good. It's a solid 7 out of 10 for me. Gremlins 2. Also has a bunch of the same actors from the first movie in it, which is fun. Three more, and then the lightning round of three movies. I watched for the first time the movie Enemy by Denis Villeneuve. Now I only need to watch Incendies? Incendiaries. I don't remember that movie. It starts with an I. In something. In something. That's the only one I haven't seen of these 2010s Villeneuve films. So Enemy features two Jake Gyllenhaals. There's a Jake Gyllenhaal who is a college professor, and then there is a Jake Gyllenhaal who is an actor, and the college professor randomly sees the actor Jake Gyllenhaal in the movie and becomes obsessed with the idea that there is this other guy who looks exactly like him, and he starts looking into it and eventually comes into contact with the other guy played by also Jake Gyllenhaal. It's a psychological thriller. The back cover is in Finnish, so you don't really do anything with that. You can read that if you want. You can try. Maybe there are a couple of Finnish people watching this who get something out of that. I don't know. Has some nice imagery there. But yeah, it's a psychological thriller. It's interesting. This is one of those movies that a lot of people find confusing, and I don't really see how, because it's very obvious what is going on in the movie. And yeah, it goes into strange places. It feels like a David Cronenberg film almost at times, because the Jake Gyllenhaals, they do kind of like a wife swap thing where they kind of trick the wives, but the wives always know like who is who, because they can see it through the shallowness of the men in this movie. They always know which Jake Gyllenhaal is which. And yeah, it has this like erotic kinkiness to it at times, which is kind of disturbing. It's disturbing, like psychological horror almost that comes with this. And yeah, it's an interesting one. The final shot, like if you don't know what the movie is about by that point, that's too bad. It's not as complex as a movie like Prisoners is. Like, no way. It's pretty straightforward. It's a good time. It's like a solid, good 8 out of 10 psychological thriller. I could see myself watching it again. It was pretty good. So there's Enemy. In terms of Villeneuve films, like Blade Runner 2049 is miles. Like there's no discussion about it. Like my favorite by him. Polytechnique is also really good, and then I guess the top three would be rounded out by Prisoners. So it's not a top Denis Villeneuve film, but it's definitely worth checking out. Next up, this one was in the collection update that I last did. Hanabi, also known as Fireworks by Takeshi Kitano. Very interesting police film. Like I said in the collection update, it's more like a PTSD drama movie than a police film. So Takeshi Kitano is a heavily traumatized police officer. His wife is dying of an illness. His partner was shot in the stomach and is in a wheelchair. One of his other co-workers was killed in a shootout with the Yakuza, and he's just in pieces. And this movie is about him. Like, Takeshi Kitano again plays the type of role that he usually plays in these movies. So he's this quiet, tough guy, prone to bursts of ultra-violence. So he's just sitting there, sipping on a drink, and some Yakuza comes yapping in his ear, and he just punches them in the throat. That's the character that he plays here. Much like the characters that he plays in Violent Cop and Boiling Point and not Hanabi, but Sonatine and so on. Like he plays this sort of character over and over and over again. He's really good at it. And yeah, this is by far the most depressing movie I've watched in a long time. Like the fireworks title is ironic, and yeah, it's one of the best Takeshi Kitano movies out there. That's saying a lot because he has done a lot of really good movies. But yeah, I was really impressed by Hanabi. And well, I guess the only reason why I wouldn't give this a 10 out of 10 is because I don't like the final ending shot of the movie. Or the shot itself is fine, no problem. But the sound effects in that scene, I don't like that. I don't want to spoil anything, but I wish there wasn't any sound effects in the final shot. Because I think that would have ended the movie in a better tone. Right. And then lastly, for the physicals, I have here Street Law, which I included in the 88 Films top 10 list. Now, not necessarily top 10 material, but very entertaining. So to add stuff to what I talked about in the top 10 video, it's a Death Wish style of vigilante film. Franco Nero, he is taken as a hostage in a bank robbery at the start of the movie and beaten up by the bank robbers. And because the police just can't find the criminals, he starts looking for them himself, kind of goes into the criminal underworld, which is not his place because he's not that guy. Like that famous meme, you're not that guy. Franco Nero is not that guy. And he just gets beaten up by criminals again and whatever. And finally he finds the criminals and he starts kind of stalking them. And of course it ends bad. But yeah, it's a vigilante film. Franco Nero is fantastic in it. And I guess the best parts of the movie are the opening and the ending. The opening is a great this sort of musical montage of just random acts of violence and crime. Kind of sets up the tone for the movie. And then it ends with this huge drawn out shootout in this kind of it looks like an aeroplane hangar, some kind of a warehouse hangar or whatever. It's a really big open area where Franco Nero and one of his friends are in this shootout with the criminals, and bad stuff happens. The middle portions of it, kind of lacking at times, but Franco Nero is always great, and the movie is very engaging and definitely worth checking out if you're into Italian action movies. I think this is one of the better Italian collection films I've seen, and well, the only one that I included in the top 10. So far, the best one, the one that I would rate the highest. So I'd give it this like a 7.5, maybe a low 8, kind of depending on my mood. So yeah, there you go. And then I have 3 more movies here that I'll briefly mention. I don't have physical copies of these. I watched, well, this one is a ridiculous movie. I watched the 1930s. Do I even want to include this? I guess I do. I watched the 1930s. I can't get through this without just starting to laugh. 1913's cowboy movie, Western, Terror of Tiny Town, which is an hour. It's one of the longest hour and 10 minutes in my life. Let's start with that. It's a Western with all midget cast. If midget isn't politically correct, little people or whatever you want to be called this week, right? All of the actors are little people, midgets. And it's such a dumb movie. It's such a dumb movie. I can't believe it. And yeah, it's an hour and 10 minutes. There's like 8 musical numbers in it with these midgets singing and dancing, and tiny people, little people, whatever. And yeah, when they go into the saloon, they just walk under the saloon doors because they are so short. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's not even supposed to be a comedy film. It's supposed to be a like a serious western with just this like different cast, and it's ridiculous. It's one of the most ridiculous movies I've seen in a long time. It's from the 1930s, western with an all little people cast in it, singing and playing songs. And of course, like it's very stereotypical, the storyline. Like you have the good guys, like the sheriff and whatever, and then you have the bad guys. So you have this, you have, oh my god, you have this villain who is this like bandit who leads this group of outlaws. And because all the actors are like little people, they obviously can't ride like full size horses because that would look ridiculous. So they all ride these tiny ponies around, and my fucking god, this movie it's so ridiculous. Like it's like these tiny people dressed in cowboy attires are just riding around on ponies. All right, I'll move on. I'll give Terror of Tiny Town a what would I score it? Is it a 3 out of 10? Nah, it's a 4 out of 10. It's funny. It's really funny, but it's also really boring. And it's really silly and ridiculous. Right, moving on. Next up, one of the great movies from Ingmar Bergman, the Swedish director. I have the Criterion box set, but I just don't want to pull it out for each one of the movies that I watch. I checked out the movie Winter Light. I watched it during the winter. Shocking, I know. It's a really sad, melancholic film about this priest who is in this small town in Sweden. So that would be like Lutheran Christianity. He's a priest in the Lutheran church, because it's like Sweden and Finland, where most of the Christians here are Lutheran. And one of the people in the community come talking to him. He has problems, issues, and after the discussion, the priest finds out, like a day or 2 days later, however long it was, that the person has committed suicide. And the rest of the movie is this priest just trying to figure out what went wrong, what could he have done different, what led this guy to suicide, is it a solution to anything, and this sort of thing. It's very melancholic and, let's say, ponderous, if that's a word. And yeah, it's interesting. I love the ending of the movie Winter Light. It's very different for Ingmar Bergman also. It has this almost a documentarian style when they find the body of the guy who committed suicide. It's just this guy, his body covered with sheets outside. Like, I don't really remember Ingmar Bergman films looking like this. It has this sort of grit to it that isn't there usually. It's very different and stylistically different for him. Very interesting. And then the ending is great. Do I want to spoil it? I guess I do. I want to spoil the ending of Winter Light, a movie from like 1950 something or 60 something. I can't remember the exact year. So the movie ends with this priest. It ends pretty much where it begins. So it begins with this sort of a what would the proper word be? I don't remember. It's like these church proceedings where this priest is like speaking to the people who have come into attendance, and then they drink the blood of Christ and eat the wafers, like the like that. I can't remember the word for it. It starts with that and then it ends with that, but there's only one person in attendance at the end of the movie. There are very few people in attendance at the start of the movie as well, but he just goes back to work and performs his stuff for the audience of one person. I think that's very powerful. I think that it's an incredibly powerful ending. Like this idea that you don't stop living, and you, even if there's just one person who cares about what you're doing, you do it to the best of your ability. Like that's an inspirational note to end the movie with. Yeah, I think Winterlight is fantastic. I'd give it like a high 9 out of 10. And then to end, just a shitty Finnish movie. As usual, I always, for some reason, I always talk about these random Finnish movies that no one knows about outside of Finland and don't even have releases with subtitles on it. I watched the film Pekko, Aikamiespojan Poikamies Aika. It's a rewatch. I've seen this movie, I think, multiple times on television as a kid. It's this dumb Finnish comedy movie with this incredibly annoying main character, Pekko. He's awful. He's like the town fool. Like he lives in the countryside in Finland, in the middle of nowhere, in this small community, and he's like the town fool that everyone loves for some reason. But he's also the most annoying person you have ever met. Just this fool. And I didn't remember the movie being actually this much fun. It was a painless experience. That's strange. I'd give it like a 5 out of 10 because I just hate the character, but it had proper lighting and proper just framing, and the shots were gorgeous. There's lots of shots of summertime Finnish nature, like sundown, rowing in the middle of the lake shots, like really gorgeous stuff, just wasted on this piece of shit character Pekko for some reason. It's from the 1990s as well. Yeah, there is no reason for me to talk about this movie. I just wanted to mention it for the couple of Finnish people I know who are watching this, friends of mine. You're watching this, so hopefully you got some enjoyment out of me talking about Pekko. He's a very famous character here. There are many movies about him, multiple TV series as well. So it's not like it's spelled Pekko. If you want to look into that, I don't know if there's any English language material. Hopefully not. Spare yourselves. So yeah, there you go. That's that. That's the movies I watched recently. Less than an hour, so I'm starting to get better at this. And yeah, I'll be back again next week for something else. Bye.